Hello, kids. Let's get it underway. It's Thursday, December 5, 2024, just past high noon. May I be the first to say a good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's day is going good so far. My name is Matt Murphy. Conveniently, this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Allow me, if you will, to get the pleasantries out of the way, and we'll get the show lumbering under its own weight. It is episode 707 of our visits together. Thank you for being a part of as many as you possibly can. It is Locks for Trump Day 278 originally. I grew my hair out to expect, and in the expectation that we would have a new president-elect on November 5th. Now I'm growing it out for the inauguration. And at that point, I think we have a barber shop on board to do some sort of charitable barbering. So we will have news on that coming up probably later on in the month or at the beginning of the year, which we're very excited about. Locks for Trump Day 278. On the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can listen or watch on a variety of platforms. We invite you to do that. 99.7 on your FM dial, of course. 100,000 watts of blowtorch power from coast to coast. That would be from Alabama to Kentucky and all points in between. Secondarily, you can also pick us up on your streaming platform. Whatever streaming platform you utilize, we're there. We invite you to download our own app at Supertalk 99.7 WTN and carry us wherever you go. And then, of course, there's Talk TV for the masochist in the listening audience if you want to watch the production made. I don't know why, but if you do, you can get a really nice up-close. Somebody told me the other day that it was a really nice up-close version of Matt Murphy right there in the cameras on Supertalk TV. Do me a favor, if you go over to Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, give us a like, a subscribe, give us the old thumbs up. That helps us out on the television side of things. We appreciate that. In the absence of Headless Bell, Jeff Malinoff is behind the glass, and behind him, his triumphant return. If I were producing this radio show, you would have some big-time walk-up music. Ken Weaver is back, baby.
Well, as you can hear through my raspy, wheezing laugh.
How's it going, man?
Oh, boy,
you all right? You gonna make it?
I've had a rough one, man.
Uh-oh.
It's been rough.
That's no good. I don't know what that means, but
well, he wasn't feeling good. What happened?
Oh,
that's the only thing I could find that was like a good intro.
Malinoff is
like, there's nothing in here.
I think Malinoff is insinuating you've been in jail.
Brother Jeff, get me some Pantera. Walk.
I could actually find that. I would gladly find. I love Pantera. I will absolutely find that.
Pantera Walk.
Well,
that's a good walk-up.
That's a great song.
Well, who doesn't love Pantera?
Walk is probably their best song.
I don't know a lot about Pantera.
It's more metal.
Well, Ken, a lot of folks have been asking about you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, and a lot of folks, once they found out you were sick, have been thinking about you. Is everything gonna? I mean, are we on the right side of this thing?
Well, I have not had a fever for 24 hours.
That's good.
So I figured once the fever broke and I didn't have that for 24 hours, I'm good to go. By God, I'm going to go to work. I am going to go to work.
Well,
because it's not like we're busting rocks or anything here.
Man, oh, man. You're busting news stories, babe. You're not breaking rocks. You're breaking news.
Now, I want to bust some ass whenever I'm on 24.
Well, Ken's going to be okay, everybody. Ken's going to be all right. I was worried. He said, 24, whatever.
Yeah, dude.
If you said that,
dude,
I would
wait
be
till
worried.
I tell you what happened to me Monday night.
What happened?
I started feeling bad. I did not feel good Monday.
That's right.
And I thought, I cannot wait to get home, crawl up in my warm bed, put on some Andy Griffith, and just go to sleep.
Yep.
No, sir.
Uh-huh.
I got down to 440 to head east over to 24, and all of a sudden, boop, on my phone, 35-minute delay.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
There was a crash down in Smyrna.
Oh, well,
I did not get home until 8:30. I am no longer taking 24.
The seventh circle of hell is on 24.
Yeah, that's what I'm told.
So get ready, Franklin. Here comes Ken Weaver every evening.
On 65.
On 65.
You're going to cut over. I guess you could go 40 and then cut down 840 if you really wanted to.
No, sir. I'm not even doing that. I don't trust that. All I know is every time I go down 65, it seems a lot calmer.
I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, I understand there's a lot of people in Murfreesboro, but there's a lot of people in Franklin and Columbia too.
There's a whole bunch of people everywhere here in Middle Tennessee.
Right. So I don't understand what it is. It is baffling to me how 24 is such more of a problem than 65. But it is.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell
is.
you, Weaver. I mean, you got to love Murfreesboro. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, I love Murfreesboro.
That's all.
That's not the that's not the issue. It's just goodness gracious.
Just think of Murfreesboro as you're stuck on I-24.
That's right.
Going 5 miles an hour or less.
That's right.
Someone on the super text line just said, "We love Ken Weaver, but today he's Ken Weezer."
It's
Ken Weezer with the news.
It's Ken Weezer. Ken Weezer, live from I-24.
Well, we were thinking about. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad. I hope you're on the right side of it. Sounds like you're on the right side of it. No fever is a good thing.
Yes, sir.
And y'all be nice to Ken today.
Yes, sir. Please.
Especially if there's problems on 24. Just listen. He'll wheeze it out there.
Oh, I'm going to tell you all about it. Let's check right now.
Let's go ahead and let's go take it. It's 12:13 in the afternoon in Central Time. Let's go ahead and take a look.
You know what? There's nothing going on I-24 right now.
That's
You
weird.
just jinxed it.
That's weird.
I probably did.
An accident will happen in the next 5 minutes.
Everybody's pulled over having lunch.
Yeah, everybody's having lunch right now.
Yeah, once they get back on the roads, they'll bust something up. Hey, if you've currently got a refrigerator that you don't need, there's nothing going on I-24. Just go ahead and dump it.
Right. And that ladder, just let it go.
Don't secure that ladder. What are you worried about?
But make sure you get in the center lane first.
Oh yeah. We wouldn't want the ladder to like clatter to the side of the road and not.
Sir.
We need maximum impeding of traffic.
Yes.
Keith writes in and says Antioch is the issue on 24.
This is the correct statement. I used to live around Antioch. It is correct.
I will say that you're not getting fully up to speed on 24 in the evening until you're out of Antioch.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you hit another slowdown right there at Tanger Outlet Mall, all the way down through Smyrna. You're really not up to speed. Really, let's just say it. You're not up to speed until you're out of Smyrna if you live in Murfreesboro.
Someone has sent me a Christmas gift idea for you, Ken, I'm very excited about this. I might not even. I'm hesitating even telling you about it because I want to get it for you for Christmas.
Is it a daily hot chicken special?
It is not.
Rats.
It's a hoodie.
I'll take that.
I figured you would. And on the hoodie, on the front of the hoodie, it says, "I listen to Pantera because punching people is frowned upon." Is that accurate? That's pretty good.
That is, and it's especially frowned upon whenever you're only 5'6".
Hey, biggin, come here. Talk to you. Some of the response from our conversation on the super text line. Dave said, "Dave, this is not very nice." Dave's way of saying he's glad you're getting better, Ken, is to say, "Please don't get Joan sick." That's not very nice, Dave.
I understand, Dave. I do, man. I promise you, I'm going to spray this room down. I am going to wipe it down.
Ken Schmin, please don't get Joan sick.
I mean, you ought to. Man, she has decorated this anchor booth.
I tell you what, it's nice, isn't it? I mean, y'all are festive over there.
Yes, sir.
In the I don't know what they're calling. They're calling it something particular in the mornings. I've been calling it News Closet B.
News Closet B,
which is, I think, very appropriate.
All I brought was this little knitted snowman.
Is that not your fat Hawaiian Santa over there in the
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay,
yeah, he sings a song, and the little duck, he just runs around quacking. I really don't know what that duck is.
That's kind of like me. That's kind of what I do for 3 hours a day. Just run around quacking. Nobody really knows what I'm for either.
It's going to be 4 hours soon.
All right. So, by the way, Ken, you missed in your sickness. You missed the big announcement.
Yes, sir.
I mean, obviously, Brian Wilson has announced his retirement. We're going to miss Brian. My biggest concern, frankly, because I need as many good, talented people around me as possible to make my radio show listenable. So My biggest concern is that Weaver would be out when he found out that I would be in, but it's my understanding Weaver has agreed to continue on a temporary basis, or an interim basis in the afternoon drive time. Is that correct, Ken?
Oh, I'm there. I'm permanent, dude.
Well,
I'm permanent.
I love it. I love that we're going to get to spend more time together.
Fun.
We're going to have a good time.
We're going to have a good time. We are just going to keep killing it, dude.
Absolutely.
We are going to keep telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the election is over does not mean it's over.
No.
We got to tell the truth. And in the news department, what that means is we're not going to be slanted. If Trump does something stupid, I'm going to let you know. If anybody does something stupid, I'm going to let you know. But what we're not going to do in the news department, what so many do in the mainstream, is we're not going to leave out pertinent information. You're going to get the whole story, and then you're going to have Matt Murphy. You're going to have Dan Mandis. You're going to have Chris Hand. You're going to have Chad Benson.
Love it.
And giving you analysis like we always have.
And the great thing is we still get Brian Wilson.
We still get Brian Wilson.
I mean, we won't get him full-time, but he's still going to be a part of the radio station.
He's going to be like that professor that hangs around and every now and then comes in and says...
Smoking his peep.
Yeah, smoking.
Smoking.
That'd be something. Big Brian
Wilson
with
a peep. Yeah, with a little pipe, a little cherry blend tobacco, Middleton's cherry blend.
But I'm looking forward to it, man.
It'll be fun. We're going to have a good time, I promise you. And I watch every day Ken Weaver remove... He does as much removing of thumbs off the scales of the news as anyone I've ever seen because he believes in his mission statement. Joan Jones believes in her mission statement. And that is not to tell you what you want to hear.
No, sir.
It is to tell you what is.
Yes.
That's all. That's it. And far too much you are on, I mean, Ken, you are right there in my wheelhouse because so many of these news organizations, it's not what they tell you, it's what they decide not to tell you that annoys me the most.
Yes, and right now, NBC is really doing a number on Pete Hegseth.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how they're doing it. They are continually bringing up his comment in the past about women in combat. Then they're following that up with the current defense secretary saying he has no problem with women in the military.
Right.
Those are two different things.
Yep.
That they're trying to tie into the same thing.
Ken, this is such a great example. Listen to what Ken just said, and y'all listen closely. Pete Hegseth says he's concerned with women in frontline combat roles, right?
Yes.
And then they supercut that with Lloyd Austin saying, "Oh, I don't have any trouble with the women in the military."
Yeah.
Those are not the same thing.
No, they are not.
Obviously.
And NBC knows that.
Yes, they do.
They know it.
Of course they do.
Are you saying the media manipulates the
believe
viewers?
it or not, I know. Malinoff, I know.
Get out of here.
Don't you worry about it. Ken Weaver and Matt Murphy, we'll feed you baby birds. We'll let you know. We'll let you know.
As long as it's not hot chicken. Because you're not going to get any of that.
That's all mine.
Or Erica's
delicious
snack treats.
delicious snacks.
Whoa, I don't like how you said that.
All right, the dirt encrusted news corner is what apparently they're calling it on the morning show, and we've got that. And Smyrna loves you, Ken, says 7211.
I love Smyrna. You got a great brewery down there, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Just take I-65 home, Ken, to Lawrence County from Smyrna. Not bad every day. They're different people on 24, says 0272. Weaver, don't you go messing up 65 for the rest of us, said 2646.
Well, if you see a white beard hanging out of a window and ZZ Top or Pantera blaring, you know it's me.
And 6173 says nobody really cares, and I have no idea what he's talking about. But thank you for participating on the show. There's plenty of others. We'll get to your telephone calls. We'll get to your text and all that coming up in just a moment. You can also follow us on social media platforms. You can follow me at Matt Murphy Show. I'm on the X machine mostly. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on the other stuff. I've got an Instagram account. Hell, I've got a Blue Sky account because I love seeing what the liberals are doing over there.
I got one too.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I love watching. Oh, they're just in hog heaven. They're just wallowing like pigs in slop over there.
They're getting mad at me because I'm not friending or I'm not trying to hook up with anybody on there.
Oh,
and they're like, trying to either say, hey, now you need to like 10 of this, and you need to like 10 of this to get the algorithm going. And no, I'm just here to observe.
You want to, I tell you what, when we come back, I'm going to go down the list of the people that I follow on Blue Sky. Because Blue Sky, I'm on Blue Sky for a specific purpose and reason, and that is to follow liberals. I'm not there to interact with them. And as a matter of fact, I have posted 2 posts on Blue Sky. The one post says, hello, my name is Matt. Happy to find a place of peace and love and community. And the other, you know that little, the meme of the antelope eating popcorn? It's like a little antelope. He's like chewing on popcorn. Here, I'm going to show it to, that's what it looks like to the, all right, there, little antelope eating popcorn. Yeah. I said, and I pinned to this one. It says, I'm just here for the show. And I am.
And yet you're still not kicked off. That's impressive.
Well, no, I could get, I guarantee you I could get kicked off Blue Sky in 30 minutes.
You want to take the test, or you want to keep it and see the show?
I want to keep it. I want to see the show.
I mean, how else are you to see Rob Reiner's great political analyst?
Or Stephen King. Oh yeah, man. Or Mark Cuban. Or George Takei.
Well, we should be thanking Mark Cuban. He kind of helped with the election a little bit on our favor.
I love when you don't like the universe that you live in, when you don't like the world that you live in, when you don't like the idea that there are people that think differently than you, just exclude those people from every aspect of your life, and then you can live your life pretending that they don't exist.
Right.
Which is exactly what they're trying to do. I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody about anything.
Yes, sir.
Which is what I hope you like about this radio show and the radio station.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
I don't care where you come from politically. Just come at me honestly and openly, and we can have a good conversation. So, and we're going to have a good conversation about Pete Hegseth. I am much more hopeful than Chris Hand. He and I were talking today, and it was weird because normally I'm the pessimist and he's more optimistic about these things. But I'm very hopeful for Pete Hegseth, and there is a fight that's about to ensue. And I think Pete Hegseth, unless something else drops, and that's a big unless, is going to get through. We'll talk about that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Safe House. You know, Nashville Safe House has been around for over 30 years now. When you walk through the Safe House, you will see the best selection of safes, not just in the Southeast and all of Tennessee. No, I defy you to tell me a better selection of safes anywhere in the United States of America. And the United States of America has a better selection of safes than anywhere in the universe. So I can safely tell you, see what I did there? Safely. I can safely tell you that Nashville Safe House has a better selection of safes than anywhere on planet Earth. Now, I don't know about the universe, so I'm not going to say that. I wouldn't go that far. But here's the deal. There are great things ahead for our country in the coming year. There's no better time to purchase a quality safe than from Nashville Safe House, and it's rebate time. Rebates on all Browning and select Liberty safes. Nashville Safe House has the largest selection of Brownings in the business, in the entire country, in the entire world. Plus, they have a large selection of Liberty in Fort Knox. Over 31 years in the safe business, locally owned and operated, personalized service, and they offer in-house delivery. Don't let a crackhead deliver your safe. It's Nashville Safe House, 4th Avenue South, across from City Cemetery. Give them a call. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy here. Did you know that you can lose up to 50% of your hair? 50% of your hair. 50% of your hair without noticing it? My hair was thinning around the crown of my head, and I was not aware of it. And as a result of going to PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair people, I'm now getting their FDA-approved laser treatments, which makes my hair thicker and fuller and prevents any further hair loss. Whether you're just beginning to lose your hair or you've been losing your hair for a time now, you can get assistance from We Grow Hair and the PAI Medical folks. They have their trademark procedures like the multi-unit hair grafting procedure and the ARTIS FUE hair transplant procedure where results are guaranteed. Friends, We Grow Hair offers free consultation. What are you waiting on? Gentlemen, if you've lost some hair, you don't have to put up with this. You just don't have to live with it. It is 2024, almost 2025. Let's get it on. 615-376-6010. 376-6010 or go to WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com.
We're going to let you hear some of the shouting match at today's Secret Service hearing in the wake of 2 attempts on President-elect Trump's life. That's at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, and thank you, Ken Weaver. We got that coming up in just a couple of minutes. I don't know what to tell you, man. Bump me up over there. I'm talking to you, Malinoff. That's why I'm looking at you. You don't have to talk back. You just have to take action. Take immediate and direct action to what I'm telling you to do. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. To put a capper on this discussion, let's talk with Richard real quick, who wants to discuss I-24. Hello, Richard.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my call, Matt. I-24 was actually a TDOT engineering faux pas back in the late 99, like 1999, 2000.
Uh-huh.
They narrowed the lanes on I-24, and ever since there's been tons of crashes.
Oh,
They're
so
only
the
9 feet wide instead of 10 feet wide.
The lanes on 24 are only 9 feet wide?
Yes, sir.
Huh. Well, that'd do it.
It's been.
I mean, hell, I think my truck's like 11 feet wide.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
But that was a big deal back in the early 2000s, where they TDOT engineers decided to narrow the lanes whenever they widened 24.
Get them another lane in there, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I've worked on the ambulance since 2000 in Nashville, and so yeah, we make crashes out there all the time.
Well, I'll tell you, do you notice, are we right? Is the perception reality when it comes to 24 and the number of accidents and problems that exist there versus, in your experience, Richard?
Yeah, it's always a lot worse on I-24 than anywhere else in the city.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, thank you, Richard, for the call. As much as I love Murfreesboro, and I absolutely love Murfreesboro. I love the little town square, I love the restaurants, the people that I've met in Murfreesboro.
Great people.
The Weavers. Man, oh, man. Good folk.
Got a little
Good
fat
folk.
wiener dog, too.
Yep, Fritz.
Yeah, little Fritz.
There he is. So, yeah, but I don't know that it's worth I-24. I mean, I'm just telling you. You got to weigh the pros, and I'm looking, and you got to weigh the pros and the cons. It's time for news. It is the Libertarian Lunchtime News Time at 12:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Well, there was a scene at a House hearing into the Secret Service's handling of presidential security in the wake of 2 attempts on President-elect Trump's life. The acting head of the agency got into a shouting match with a Republican congressman. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
I actually responded to Ground Zero. I was there going through the ashes of the World Trade Center. I was there at Fresh Kills.
I'm not asking you that.
I was
I'm asking
there,
you
Congressman.
were you the special agent in charge?
To show respect
You were not.
for a Secret
that's
Service
a bunch of
member
horse hockey.
that died on 9/11.
Oh, that you're trying to be.
Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes.
Oh, that I'm not. I'm invoking this.
You are, sir.
Gentlemen,
And you are out of line.
I would like to ask him a question. Please.
You are out of
Don't try
line,
to bully me.
Congressman.
Don't
Way
try
out
to
of
bully
line.
me.
Order.
Yeah, that's acting Secret Service Director Ron Rowe under questioning from Texas Republican Pat Fallon. Apparently, Rowe had made it to where he could sit behind President Biden and near Vice President Kamala Harris at the 9/11 memorial in September there in New York. And Congressman Fallon thought that was mismanagement because Congressman Fallon thinks that put Kamala Harris's life in danger. More fallout from the fatal police beating of Tyree Nichols in Tennessee's second largest city this year. Yep, we're talking about Memphis. DOJ threatening to sue Memphis police over a pattern of excessive force following a federal investigation. The investigation hitting home for Memphis native and U.S. Attorney Reagan Taylor Fondren.
We have a long history of civil rights organizing and community engagement. Those who marched for civil rights, sat in at lunch counters, and kneeled at churches sacrificed so that we would live by one rule of law. 5
former Memphis police officers were fired and then charged for the death of Nichols. 3 of them, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, and Tadarius Bean, were convicted of violating Nichols' civil rights through excessive use of force, unlawful assault, failing to intervene in the assault, and failing to render medical aid. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy talking about the Glock store and the Shoot 270 indoor shooting rooms. Well, that's a good thing. Indoor, especially during the winter months. Rooms, not lanes. That's a good thing as well. More on that in a second. You know, the Glock store is not just a small department store. It's not one of these smaller boutique-type gun shops. It is a huge store. And guns are just a part of the business, a big part of the business, no doubt, but a part nonetheless. At Glock Store, their primary purpose, yes, is to sell Glocks and to train you how to use them. It's what they do. It's what they know. And they are very, very good at it. Stop by and they'll take the time to speak with you. And here's what I love. The Glock Store is going to talk to you on your level of expertise. If you're a marksman and you just are trying to fine-tune your marksmanship and get a little bit better, they can talk to you. If you've never handled a gun in your life, they can talk to you. And everybody in between. I asked to tour the Shoot 270 indoor shooting facility. It's the only one in the country, and it is pretty special. A lane range is a lane range. The Shoot 270 shooting facility, it is something quite different. And in the private shooting rooms, you'll get one-on-one personalized instruction. Book your session now at shoot270.com. You'll be glad you did for the holidays. Or go by and see if there are gift-giving ideas at Glock Store. Glockstore.com. That's Glockstore.com. Minutes away from the airport. Worth the drive from anywhere. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Do not forget, coming up at 2:05 this afternoon, we'll welcome to the show Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti, successfully, in my opinion, arguing before the United States Supreme Court with regard to Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 1 passed a couple of years ago by the Tennessee General Assembly, subsequently signed into law by Governor Bill Lee. What would these laws do? They would prevent any underage person in the state of Tennessee receiving certain treatments that would be permanently body-altering in nature, to include puberty blockers, hormone blockers, or surgeries that would, quote-unquote, reassign them in terms of their gender. We'll discuss that more at 2:05 this afternoon with the AG of the state of Tennessee, Jonathan Skrmetti. Looking forward to that conversation. Real quick, I've got to clean a couple of things up here. One, Jeff Malinoff, I've been instructed by several in the listening audience to apologize for my tone. I love you dearly. As much as I pick on you, you're a special addition to this radio show and this radio station. And I don't just say that because I want to get back invited again to that awesome golf course that you invited me to. But I was told that my tone was nasty to you, and I apologize.
Well, it's unnecessary to apologize, but I appreciate it. It's your show. I got to make sure it's run properly.
Sounds great.
So
now it sounds great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's on my end. Who knows?
Jeff, did you steal my cheese and crackers?
No. For the 16th time.
Did he really?
No.
Did you?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure it was Mason.
Oh, wait a minute. There they are.
And here's me throwing Mason under the bus.
Never mind, Brother Jeff.
I'm pretty sure it was Mason. Oh, no, here they are. Oh, well, in that case. The other thing I need to clean up, so that's the cleanup number one, is I've got to apologize to Malinoff. Cleanup number two is, all right, so here, just real quick, before we get into the Pete Hegseth stuff, here are some of the folks that I'm following on Blue Sky. Blue Sky, I'm on Twitter at Matt Murphy Show. That's where I'm at mostly. And I would love for you to follow me. I think I'm a good follow. So on Blue Sky, I'm simply there for the fun. I'm there for the show. Here are some of the folks I'm following. These are people that have, I think, permanently abandoned the X machine, a.k.a. Twitter, because they say that that's a place full of hate and meanness and all of that. Keith Olbermann. I'm following Keith Olbermann. Phil Williams of News Channel 5. Hey, Phil. Jen Rubin of the Washington Post. The Lincoln Project. Media Matters for America. Mark Hamill. Following Mark Hamill. Joy Reid.
Gross.
I know. It just keeps getting worse. Kathy Griffin. Eric Swalwell. Right? Eric Swalwell. You probably don't know this, Malinoff. Eric Swalwell is a congressman from out in California that farted on CNN.
He also had relations with a Chinese spy.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like that one's a little worse than the farting on air, but they're both pretty bad.
Ching Ching or Chong Chong or
Ping Ping, I think.
Fang Fang.
Fang. That's what it was.
There you go. Harry Sisson, he's he's unbearable. Little snot, little liberal operative. The Tennessee Holler, follow them. Eric Holder, he's on there. Brian Stelter, who blocked me on Twitter for no reason, but I think it's because I kept calling him the potato.
That'll do it.
He's got a head like a potato.
I agree.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. George Takei.
Are you a masochist?
I love it. Jameel Hill, former sports person that Don Lemon. And on and on. Mark Cuban, Stephen King, and of course, hashtag Never CNN. Garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage. So those are some of the folks that that's just good fun. I may be a masochist, but yeah, that's good fun. 4460 says, yes, it was Bang Bang with Fang Fang.
I mean, if you were going to get, like, out of office, wouldn't that be the reason? Like, how is that not a huge, bigger thing than it is?
What, that you were having sexual relations with a Chinese spy?
Yeah, like, what knowledge did she get? She must have gotten something.
While receiving intelligence briefings and reports from the Congress of the United States of America, you would think that, if anything, that this would get you kicked out of office. But you would be wrong, and here's why, Malinoff. He's a Democrat.
That's what I was about to ask. I'm like, is it because he's a Democrat?
That's exactly why it is. It's because he's a Democrat.
Can you imagine if that was Trump?
No. I mean, well, Trump...
I'm saying the media-wise.
Well, no, we don't... here's the great thing have to imagine if it was Donald Trump. We can go back to his first term in office when he was impeached for having a perfectly legitimate conversation with the Ukrainian president and officials from Ukraine in which he said, hey, we need to figure out what the heck happened with this Burisma deal with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and why all that went down, because we want to make sure that we vet out all of that corruption that potentially happened during the previous administration. A perfectly legitimate point to make. And, oh, by the way, a point that Donald Trump has been proven correct on, considering that now Joe Biden has decided to give a blanket pardon to Hunter dating back to 2014. I wonder why. There is not a mistake there. That is not a coincidence or happenstance that he went back to January 1st of 2014 to give that blanket pardon to Hunter. It wasn't 10 years, as I first reported. I reported it as a 10-year blanket. It was an 11-year, actually 10 years and 11 months. That's not by mistake. And, oh, by the way, a lot of this Ukrainian nonsense was going on in 2015 and 2016, where Hunter was making $50,000 a month as a board member on Burisma. And remember, Joe went to Ukraine and told him that I got $1 billion and I'm taking it back home with me unless you fire the prosecutor that just happened to be prosecuting or investigating Burisma. My goodness. And for Donald Trump asking that question, this Vendeman character, turned whistleblower, quote unquote, started squealing about what he thought was on the call, although he was not directly on the call. He got secondhand information on it. The media ran with that, and the Democrats impeached Donald Trump as a result of it. That was as nonsensical of an impeachment as you're ever going to find, as much of a political hit job as you'll ever find. So let's go to Secretary of Defense and why I'm hopeful. Pete Hegseth is arguing his case before the United States Senate. Obviously, none of this will ultimately get decided until after Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th president of the United States of America. There are several individuals, Republicans, that have, and I went over the anatomy of the smear yesterday, and I'm going to do this again because it doesn't matter if it's Pete Hegseth or whomever it might be. The anatomy of the smear is the same for the Democrats. It's a well-worn page from their playbook. You know, they've got a number of ways that they do this. Oh, can we insinuate that this person was racist in any way? Go over all of their tweets, every single tweet that they've ever tweeted, every single social media communication that's ever been available. And let's go ahead and find out if we can find anything on them. I mean, even those that I don't like have been victims of the anatomy of the smear, the Democrat smear. For example, Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is a mealy-mouthed Republican. I don't use the term rhino, but if I did, it would apply here. Mitt Romney, it is a good day for America that he has delivered his farewell address in the United States Senate. Mitt Romney is exactly the type of quote-unquote conservative that we don't need moving forward. Okay? That's just establishing the baseline here. Now, let me defend the guy. What they did to him, what the mainstream media did to Mitt Romney in 2012 was shameful. They did the same thing to John McCain in 2008. These Republicans that they claim to like, these Republicans that they claim, well, Mitt Romney is a common sense Republican. He's a moderate Republican. He's willing to reach across the aisle. And, with John McCain, oh, he's a maverick. Oh, yeah, he thinks on his own. He doesn't follow the party line. He's great. And then as soon as the Republicans who think they're going to get a pass from the mainstream media, we pretend like all of this started with Trump. Now, Trump had a better ability to fight back than anyone I've ever seen in my life. Donald Trump has been more successful dismantling the mainstream media and dismantling the swamp or the deep state than any other politician in modern American history. But it didn't start with him. That's what's so amusing, or what was so amusing about the concept of having DeSantis run as president of the United States or for president of the United States in 2024 instead of Trump. because DeSantis supporters wanted to predict, well, DeSantis is a reasonable alternative, and the media won't go after DeSantis like they went after Trump. Where have you people been? What are y'all talking about? The mainstream media, consisting of 92% liberals, 92% of individuals in national mainstream media are liberals. You know, even at Fox News, which is considered to be a more even-handed or even conservative-leaning outlet, and I understand that's debatable, they have plenty of liberals on their staff. Now, they probably have a more equitable balance, but I would suggest to you that outside of a couple of contracted, people like Scott Jennings on CNN, is there anyone on staff at CNN that's a conservative? I sincerely doubt it. That said, we were told, over all these many years, if they were, if they picked moderates, then, you wouldn't have these problems. If they just picked a more sensible candidate, well, what did they do to John McCain? John McCain was a war veteran, a war hero. He was a maverick. He was his own man. And he goes up against Barack Obama. And the mainstream media told us they actually floated the news story, and it became a part of the news cycle, questioning whether John McCain had not had mental issues that would be disqualifying because he spent 5 years as a prisoner of war in the Hanoi Hilton. They floated that idea. And then, of course, he was too old, he was too pasty white, and all of those things. In 2012, they did the same thing. Reasonable. Oh, Mitt Romney's the reasonable candidate. They're asking you to pick the candidate that has the least ability to win is what they're doing. And the one that is more easily dispatched of by the mainstream media, which is not part of their job. And so with Mitt Romney, they brought up, he cut a guy's hair in high school. That guy was gay, and that guy eventually killed himself, so Mitt Romney was responsible for his death. And the whole dog pooping on the top of the car deal. I mean, once again, I don't have any love lost for Mitt Romney, but they've done this for a long time. It's called the anatomy of the smear. It is not about the veracity of the claim. It is about the seriousness of the charge. The veracity of the claim against Pete Hegseth was adjudicated when the claim happened in 2017. This woman a week later came back to the police after a week and said, you know what, I'm not comfortable with the sexual relationship that I had. The consensual relationship is what Pete Hegseth would call it, that we had that night at the hotel, when going as far as to say that she was sexually assaulted or raped. The Monterey Police Department looked into it. They interviewed people. They looked over surveillance video, and they found no evidence that this occurred. And they dismissed the case, did not bring charges. But the mainstream media doesn't care. Oh, it's the seriousness of the charge. None of this would be happening were this a Democrat. None of it. And I believe giving ground to these people in this way that we are, it seems to me, is a mistake. Because they're just going to go on to the next person. There is no acceptable Republican for the mainstream media. It's a target-rich environment, and they're simply waiting to dispatch of this target so that they can move on to the next one. Who's next? RFK? Tulsi Gabbard? Who's next? They'll go after somebody. I promise you that. We'll get your thoughts on all of this. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe you don't feel like Hegseth has a shot. I think we need to defend this. Obviously, if more comes out or something else comes out, anything can change if more news comes out. I don't believe that any of what has come out has been disqualifying. 615-737-9986. The Matt Murphy Show continues on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Men of Valor. I had the wonderful opportunity earlier this week to spend 3 hours talking about the good people and to the good people of Men of Valor. I hope you were able to catch that, and if not, it's up on our podcast section on 997WTN.com. As we told you that day, Men of Valor needs volunteers. Obviously, they need you if you are available in the prison system at their campus for aftercare reentry. They need job partners and Bible study teachers, mentors that can disciple men in their everyday lives and help keep them on track, becoming better and more productive members of our society. Will you join us in helping set these captives free and making our community a better and safer place to live in the process? You know, sadly, roughly 90% of men who go in, not sadly on this front, 90% of men who go into prison get out. Sadly, I should say, around 50% of those men within 3 years go back. And we need to reduce that. And Men of Valor graduates reduce it to in the teens as a percentage. Go to movministry.com. That's movministry.com for more information on the wonderful organization that is Men of Valor.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we got a stalled vehicle, I-40 eastbound, just past Center Hill Dam. This is going to be in Smith County. So if your travels take you that direction, just keep that in mind. That's going to be exit 268. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. There was quite a scene at a House hearing into the Secret Service's handling of presidential security in the wake of 2 attempts on President-elect Trump's life. The acting head of the agency got into a shouting match with a Republican congressman. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The dust-up was unlike any Capitol Hill watchers have seen. Acting Secret Service Director Ron Rowe, under questioning from Texas Republican Pat Fallon, exploded in anger when he was shown a picture of himself at this year's 9/11 remembrance in New York.
Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes.
Oh, I'm not.
The photo showed him just behind the president and vice president, a position Congressman Fallon says should have been taken by the head of the detail, not the head of the agency.
I think it was a vanity project. I think he was auditioning for the job.
And the Department of Justice announced the findings of an investigation into the Memphis Police Department today. Here's Brian Clark.
The federal government's investigation into Memphis police followed last year's beating death of Tyree Nichols. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark says
the Justice Department has found a pattern or practice of conduct that violates people's civil and constitutional rights.
She said that includes the use of excessive force, discrimination against black people, and those with behavioral health disabilities. The Justice Department says the city and Memphis police must correct the issues.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic. U.S. students have been losing a lot of ground in at least one of those subjects, as we hear in this report from Sherry Preston.
When it comes to school math scores, the theme appears to be subtraction. Peggy Carr with the National Center for Education Statistics says between 2019 and 2023, results for fourth graders saw an 18-point drop. Eighth graders dropped 27 points.
We started this assessment in 1995, so we have erased the gains that we were seeing for decades.
Part of the problem, she says, interruptions from COVID.
Now here in Tennessee, 2023-2024 TCAP results show 40% of students in grades 3 and 8 met or exceeded grade level expectations in math, and this is an improvement from 2021 when fewer students met expectations. An apology today from the president of McDonald's for the E. coli outbreak linked to onions used on the Quarter Pounder.
We let people down. And so I want to apologize to all of our customers out there who were harmed by this incident.
Joe Erlinger telling ABC News in an exclusive interview that McDonald's stopped using the supplier facility linked to the outbreak and stopped sourcing onions from the farm. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
All right, we still have enough time, friends, and what I mean by that is this. The Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center wants to remind you with fall here and December here, more people have met their insurance deductible, and in order to maximize your insurance, they want you to schedule an appointment right now. They being Dr. Brian McLaughlin, Dr. Stephen Poss, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center to find out if they have a solution for your sleep apnea or a solution for your snoring. They're in network with BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and Medicare. They're a preferred provider with TRICARE for the military, and they can assist you in eliminating snoring, sleeping better, getting a more restful night's sleep. I know because I'm not only a spokesperson, I'm also a patient of the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Dr. Stephen Poss, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, they have incredible credentials, 2 locations, Brentwood and Murfreesboro. It's time to get this done. Go to drposs.com, drposs.com to find out more about their FDA-approved device that can help you sleep better with the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. All right, here we are. Here we go. Matt Murphy, Show 106. Thank you for being around. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So it's my apology to you that I misspoke when I said that we would have the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee on the show at 2:05 because I believe that there was an Eastern Time, Central Time gap there because we've got him right now on the Murphy Show hotline. The Attorney General of the great state of Tennessee, Jonathan Skrmetti, joins us on the program to talk about oral arguments happening yesterday before the United States Supreme Court. Mr. AG, good to talk with you. I hope you're well, sir.
Great to talk with you, Matt. Sorry for any confusion, but it's great to be on your show.
Well, it's great to have you here in Middle Tennessee, and I know you've been making the rounds, talking to as many people as possible, helping them understand what the purpose of these laws were that were duly passed by the General Assembly and signed by the governor, and what we hope to accomplish in terms of the rights of our youngsters and the rights of parents. Just walk us through, for those maybe not paying as much attention, what the basic argument for the state of Tennessee was before the United States Supreme Court.
So we won in the Court of Appeals, so it was the other side, the government and the ACLU, that brought the challenge to the Supreme Court. And their argument is that our law is discriminating on the basis of sex and that transgender status should be a special protected class under the Constitution. Our argument is there's no sex discrimination here. Because you have to provide different medicines to boys and girls to treat the same conditions. So if you give a boy testosterone, that's helping to solve problems if his body doesn't make enough testosterone. If you give a girl testosterone for a psychological condition, it's creating a host of medical complications. That's the heart of our sex discrimination argument. And then on the transgender status issue, the court hasn't recognized a new protected class in decades, and the criteria that the Supreme Court set out for what constitutes a protected class just doesn't really fit there. The point that came up probably most prominently in the argument was, is it immutable, which means it's not changing? And obviously, with the transgender term being an umbrella term for all sorts of different things, you have gender fluid, for instance, which is somebody whose gender changes. Well, if it changes, it's necessarily not immutable. And we feel pretty strongly that we've got a really solid argument on that issue as well.
Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti joining us for a few moments, talking about the oral arguments yesterday. It may be pretty basic in terms of the question, but I'm very curious your feeling leaving the court. I know that that's a dangerous task to feel like you have a sense of where the justices are, but do you feel like they received your argument well, AG?
Yeah. I don't want to get caught up in the horse race because they have months to go, and who knows what conversations they have or what internal debates there are in the court. But I thought we put on a great case. I thought my Solicitor General, Matt Rice, did a phenomenal job arguing our side. The justices for twice as long as it was supposed to. They really worked through the issues. They're thinking about it hard. I feel like we have done everything we can on behalf of Tennessee to put the best possible argument out there to the court.
Well, and I know that it's not the main thrust of the argument presented to you by the other side, but you did score, I thought, in listening to the testimony of victory yesterday, as the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, they were forced to agree with the position that there is not an increase in suicide rates based on people who do not receive these procedures. It seems to me, Attorney General, that one of the few justifications that I hear from the other side on this issue as to why you need to do this at such a young age, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age, is that the suicide rate goes up precipitously if you do not. And you pushed the issue, or your argument, your team pushed the issue and was able to disabuse the other side of this notion, correct?
Yeah, I thought that was the most important part of the argument, was the ACLU lawyer acknowledging for Justice Alito that the suicide rate is not affected. Because over and over you hear, well, you can either have a dead daughter or a live son, and parents were bullied into going along with these procedures with the threat of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important for people to know the truth here, because the long-term effects of subjecting kids to these treatments are horrifying. And the evidence, the systematic reviews of the evidence show little to no benefit to the kids. So you're talking about a huge risk, low benefit, and parents were bullied with these threats of suicide that just didn't hold any water.
And just to help people that perhaps have not been following this is specifically tailored for minors in the state of Tennessee, right? This has nothing to do with people who have reached the age of majority. You know, if the General Assembly wants to take up something along those lines at some future time, fine. But this has to do with underage children.
Right. I mean, all of the debate about it focused on kids not being able to consent to such lifelong consequences, on the lack of research related to kids. I mean, this is a kid-oriented law, and, you know, there's a lot of talk on the other side about how this means a universal ban. Well, that's not what this law is. That's not what the Tennessee General Assembly was looking at.
I know that many of your fellow AGs were watching and studying this case and studying the oral arguments carefully. We spoke to Attorney General of the state of Alabama, Steve Marshall, yesterday in the aftermath of the oral argument. I mean, the idea being that if the courts rule in our favor, well, I'll just ask it open-ended, AG, what does a favorable ruling mean for not just Tennessee, but for the United States, particularly for our minor children?
So there are a few different ways we can win, but the big win would be the court saying there's no heightened scrutiny. This is not sex discrimination. The states can legislate with respect to transgender status or gender identity without the courts coming in and second-guessing via constitutional argument what they have done. And that would leave it up to democracy. That lets the people's elected representatives make the choices about what our laws are. This is America. That's how we want things to come out. So that would be the big win. And I want to briefly say Steve Marshall has been a hero on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
His amicus brief in this case was huge. He has done a lot of work on this. He was up here at the argument sitting right behind me, and I'm proud to call him my friend. I'm really glad he had a chance to get on.
No, absolutely. And I consider him a friend as well, given my time back in the state of Alabama. I think he's done a great job as AG of Alabama, as you've done a great job for us. And so the time frame is, I mean, obviously it's going to be months before we get a determination by the court.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be shocked if we got something before, June or July.
Well done by you. I mean, what is your message when you speak to more aggressive, and I know you've got to go, but when you speak to more aggressive organizations, and I know you've been available to a lot of different media organizations, and they suggest that there's going to be harm done to kids as a result of this legislation, this law, what is your message to those individuals that perhaps think differently than the majority of us in Tennessee with regard to this issue?
Yeah, I mean, the message is look at the evidence. Look at what happened in Europe. England, Sweden, Norway, Finland, these are not conservative countries. These are not red states. They're countries that dove into this stuff early on, made it widely available to kids. Then they looked at the research. They realized that the risks way outweigh the benefits, and they started seriously restricting the availability of these procedures for kids. So the folks who try to write it off as, oh, this is a crazy Christian nationalist thing, that just doesn't square with the facts. The research points in the direction of keeping kids away from this. Other countries that have looked at the research have done the same thing. To the extent that this is a political issue, it's politicized by activists who are suppressing the research and who are trying to force everybody into a fake consensus to get their way.
A perfect man and a perfect team for the job before the United States Supreme Court. We appreciate you spending some time with us today, Jonathan. Thank you so much for representing the state of Tennessee in the manner that you do, and we look forward to the next conversation. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Matt. It's an honor to do it.
Absolutely. There's Jonathan Skrmetti, AG of the state of Tennessee. Great job by him. Great job by his team and everyone involved in this case. I mean, obviously, the arguments that were made, the political left and many within the medical community and the psychiatric community attempted to bludgeon us over the head with regard to suicide ideation or suicide rates and the idea, the justification that we hear over and over again. Like Jonathan put it, and I think he put it very well, you can have a dead girl or a live boy. That's your choice. And that's the manner in which the medical community that makes a tremendous amount of money on this, that's the manner in which they put it. To parents. Look, I understand that there are some parents that demonstrate that they have their own sets of issues. Sadly, I think a lot of the parents involved in these situations get misrepresented. And here's what I mean by that. The most vocal, the most vociferous advocates for these procedures are oftentimes the ones that we look at and recognize that maybe they have something going on in their lives that has spilled over to their children. That's not the majority of parents who are going through this. The majority of parents want to do right by their children, and they recognize that they have a mental and or physical issue at some point as their children begin to get older. They don't know how to deal with that, and they look for help. And many of the parents that look for help look to people with degrees on their walls, with doctor in front of their names, whether they're psychiatric in nature or more medical. And they sit down with those folks. And sadly, it has become a cottage industry in this United States of America, as it has in other countries around the globe, that they lead you to one and only one conclusion, and that is affirmation. That if your daughter tells you that she wants to be a duck, then by God, she's a duck and you should quack. Well, the reasoning behind this affirmation-only approach rests solely in the idea that if you don't do this, they're going to kill themselves. That's the argument. That if you don't affirm that your 8-year-old boy is actually an 8-year-old girl and begin dressing them in dresses and begin growing their hair long and offering them makeup and giving them ear, whatever your version of feminization might be, and then taking the additional step and approach to offering them puberty blockers or hormone therapies or whatever it might be, and eventually getting to the point where you have literal medical procedures on them to alter their bodies. Parents are told, sadly, they believe that their children will kill themselves. There is no reputable research study that has been done to indicate that this is the case. And as a matter of fact, the individual who was making the argument for the ACLU, Chase Strangio, I don't know, man. I think he's born female, presents as male now. I think that's right. Strangio argued that there was more conclusive evidence in longer-term study that the procedures lead to an overall reduction in suicide rates, meaning that not just suicide attempts, but also suicide thinking or thinking about attempting suicide, saying that that becomes a positive outcome. So after Judge Alito, and if you missed it, it was a brilliant moment, where Judge Alito said, hold on a second, page 195 of this case study, a British review of transgender medical studies. Justice Samuel Alito brings this up. It's called the Cass Report. Where he said on 195 of this report, it says there's no evidence that gender affirmative treatment reduced suicide. Strangio said, well, I get it. Quote, what I think that's referring to is there's no evidence in the studies that this treatment reduces contemplated suicide. He admitted the point. Then he tried to correct himself and said, well, there are other studies. And what these other studies do, because I've looked into this, they don't deal with suicide rates. Actually, the indicator is that individuals who go through this hormone therapy, and we're just getting this information in because this is so relatively new, but the people that go through this have more suicide rates. The rates of suicide increase, I should say. And the study that this dude cited was, but we have several studies that indicate that the suicide, the intentions and the thoughts are already there. There is no peer-reviewed study that indicates that there's an increase in the rates of suicide with individuals that express some sort of gender dysphoria versus those that actually go through these treatments. There's just none. And that's the only justification that you hear from the other side of this as to why they have to do it. We have to do it when they're 8. We have to do it when they're 9. We have to do it when they're 10. Why? Well, because they'll kill themselves if you don't. And oh, by the way, there's another piece to this. And I know that we're getting into the weeds here, but I think this is important. These same individuals that suggest that this person is truly gender dysphoric and that my boy is really a girl in mind and spirit, and that we want to make my boy a girl in physical appearance as well. And over the course, if that is even true, doing this at the age of 10 or 11 or 12, I don't grant you this for 98% of the people that claim that they are transgender. I don't buy it. I understand that gender dysphoria exists. I understand that it exists in a very limited capacity. And I think we've way broadened the term to the point that it's difficult to understand who is who and what is what. Bottom line, even if I agreed with you that your child is truly gender dysphoric, if you want a successful outcome to a gender transition surgery, you have to let them go through puberty to do it. I mean, that gets rather graphic, but you don't develop the parts that are necessary in order to make the gender transition if you don't go through puberty to begin with. So you're not even accomplishing the task that you claim to want to accomplish. A lot of mental disorder going on. A lot. And I got that wrong, by the way. Completed suicides. The ACL lawyer argued that the reason there's not evidence about completed suicides, not contemplated, completed suicides, is that it's a, quote, very small population of individuals with studies that don't necessarily have completed suicides within them. In other words, Strangio said, well, we don't have evidence to make a counter-argument against what you're saying. Okay. 23 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It can be hard to find someone that you trust when it gets cold like this and your heater goes out. Do you know who you're going to call? Do you have a number in mind? Do you have a name in mind? Well, if you don't, I would recommend Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Efficient Heating and Cooling, they're a small company with big service and big results. I trust Jeff Eddy and his crew to do the right thing every time. They prove it time and time again. If you're trying to make a decision about repair or replacement, Jeff and his crew will walk you through all of your options and every scenario involved in that decision-making process. They're going to educate you and equip you with the ability to make the right decision. The best way to head off costly repairs is obviously maintenance, and at Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they can help you with that as well. They never charge you over $125 for a maintenance call, no matter where you are and no matter how many units you have at your residence. That's the cap, and oftentimes it's much less than that. Then, of course, when the time comes, and the time will come when you need to replace, you can trust that Jeff Eddy's only going to tell you that when the time is here, and they're an elite pro partner with Rheem, helping you make the right decision on your next unit. EfficientHVAC.net. EfficientHVAC.net or 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for our friends at Efficient.
Tsunami warnings out for the California coast. We'll tell you why at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I already know why, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise. So that's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Would love to hear from you, 615-737-9986. At any point during our time on the radio, I love talking to folks on the phone lines. I also love talking to you on the Super Text line. You can get it in either way with that telephone number, 615-737-9986. I believe that, look, I call myself a libertarian with a small L. That's my basic philosophy is that government serves best when it serves least and only when absolutely necessary. That government should intervene into any given situation only when it is necessary for government to do so. And I say small L libertarian because I don't belong to the Libertarian Party, and I disagree with certain aspects of the libertarian philosophy. Not a lot, but certain. I mean, and frankly, I don't want to get into the argument about, are you a real libertarian? Are you not a real libertarian? I mean, it's just boring to me at this stage. But I'm a fierce defender of your individual liberties and rights. But I also recognize, and I think most rational people recognize, that there are points in your mental development in your childhood that you don't have the ability to make certain decisions that will be permanently life-altering or could possibly be permanently life-altering. I mean, I don't mean to insult your intelligence by going over some of these examples that are easily assessed for those of us who are thinking about the situation, but we don't let 12-year-old kids drive automobiles down I-24. Sometimes it feels like we do, what with all of the accidents, but we don't. Why? Because we do not believe that they have reached the physical or mental maturity in order to operate a motor vehicle. We don't allow, even if parents want them to drive cars, we don't allow them to drive cars in our society. In our society, we set age restrictions all the time, and our founding fathers saw fit to understand this as well. Within the Constitution of the United States, they put age restrictions on your ability to serve in the House of Representatives, in the United States Senate, and as President of the United States of America, 25, 30, and 35 respectively. Why? Why did they do that? If not for a recognition that age matters in some circumstances, that it can, yes, not all the time, but it can equate to maturity and wisdom. And now we're at a time where we see medical professionals, because they have a vested interest in doing so, arguing with parents that if you don't do certain permanently life-altering procedures on your 12-year-old child, that what? They're going to kill themselves? And we have example after example after example. Well, one, that's just statistically not accurate. Sadly, suicide exists, but it is not statistically accurate that you will see an increase in suicides if you don't do these procedures. Secondarily, these individuals that would recommend these procedures are making a lot of money on it. And so they have a conflict in interest, in my opinion. In my opinion. It is 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's find out about that tsunami together.
$1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes and tsunami warnings out for the California coast. This is after a 7-magnitude earthquake near the state. It is affecting southern Oregon through the Bay Area down to just north of Santa Cruz. Deny, defend, and depose. Those words on shell casings left at the scene when United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down outside a New York City hotel early yesterday. Morgan Norwood on the ongoing manhunt.
Police have just released new images of the suspect, and in these new images, we see the suspect's face very clearly. They're now blasting these images out to the public. We also are learning that authorities are searching a hostel on the Upper West Side.
Just 1 day removed from defending Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors before the U.S. Supreme Court, Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti tells WTN's Matt Murphy Show.
So there are a few different ways we can win, but the big win would be the court saying, There's no heightened scrutiny. This is not sex discrimination. The states can legislate with respect to transgender status or gender identity without the courts coming in and second-guessing via constitutional argument what they have done, and that would leave it up to democracy.
The justice's decision not expected for several months, and we're learning details about a bizarre attempted murder in Central California's Monterey County, which was allegedly spawned from obsession over video game chats. Alex Stone reports.
25-year-old Devin Vanderhoff and his buddy allegedly traveled from Canada to Monterey County to meet a woman Vanderhoff had chatted with on a video game and had become obsessed over. Investigators say the two arrived at her house posing as delivery drivers holding a package. Her boyfriend answered the door and they began stabbing him. She then defended her boyfriend and attacked Vanderhoff. She was strangled and stabbed as she fought back. In the box they arrived with were handcuffs, duct tape, and knives. Vanderhoff was badly injured in the struggle and is now being held on $4 million bail.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
I often say when I talk about Tennessee Men's Clinic that I want to talk to the fellas in the audience, but I also want to talk to you ladies. Have you noticed that your guy has lost a step or two? Whether it is working in the yard, putting up Christmas decorations outside, perhaps it's gains at the gym or even going to the gym, and yes, perhaps it's in bedroom activity. This doesn't have to be just, quote, the way that it is. Ladies and men, there is a solution, and the Tennessee Men's Clinic offers it. For the last 10-plus years, I guess almost 11 years now, since 2014 when they opened their office in Midtown, Evan Bass and his team at Tennessee Men's Clinic have been helping people just like you get back right in bedroom activity and other activity when it comes to your energy levels and, yes, your T levels. Do you know what your T levels are? If you don't, you need to know. Let's find out together at Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for all of your needs. They have multiple solutions for you men. 2 locations to serve you as well. One is in Franklin, Cool Springs area. The other in Midtown. Tennessee Men's Clinic. Call them today for an appointment. 615-208-9090. 208-9090.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Super Talk 99.7 WT. And by the way, Bell is on vacation. Several of you have asked this Thursday edition, where the heck? I don't think that's they're casting aspersions against the performance of Malinoff. They just are curious where Headless Bell is. Headless Bell on vacay this week. He'll be back next week. 38 minutes after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're going to get into the Department of Government Efficiency, most certainly. We'll get back into the Pete Hegseth nomination process and whether or not that's going to happen effectively. Around 5 million people are currently under a tsunami warning in Northern California and Oregon. A 7.0 magnitude earthquake, which is believed to be able to create dangerous waves from now to within an hour from now, has erupted off the coast of California, obviously on the seabed floor. And for that reason, they have instituted a tsunami warning. You know, every time I think about this, I think about, a couple of things. One, the tsunami that occurred off the coast of Japan that affected the nuclear power plant over there. That happened in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. I think so. And then we think about the other tsunami that happened. And you know what? This one was like on the Indian Ocean. And I want to say that one killed 200,000 people. I think that's about right. And you've seen multiple videos of this thing. So we're thinking about those folks out in California. Hopefully, I mean, goodness me, no one would want anyone to suffer as a result. So hopefully nothing will come of it. A lot of times they issue these tsunami warnings and nothing comes of it. But we'll keep you up to date all afternoon long on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How many I'm going to ask, I'll get back to phones. Larry and Mike, I'm getting to you in a moment. But from KGB, is Ken back there? I can't see him.
I'm here.
All right, Ken Weaver.
Yes.
All right. If you've seen this, you've got to tell me because no cheating.
Okay.
But I'm looking at a report today. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They're up the Doji team, the Department of Government Efficiency team. They're up on Capitol Hill today.
Yeah, meeting with lawmakers.
Meeting with lawmakers, and it was revealed today the percentage of the federal workforce that report in person on a full-time basis. All right, so imagine where you work, okay? And I understand some people are out and about in their cars as to what they do. Maybe they're sales reps or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people that work remotely versus working in the building where their offices are. Would you guess, KGB, you can go first. I'll let Ken go. What percentage of the federal workforce, accounting for millions of people, report in person on a full-time basis?
Well, since this is post-COVID, and I'm guarantee you there's people that are like, I can just do this from home and didn't even go back. I'm going to say right now, 15%.
15%?
I think there's a lot of lazy people in our government.
Only 15%?
I'm going to go that low.
All right, Ken Weaver.
I'm gonna give it a nice round number of 25%.
25%. All right, so Ken Weaver says 25% of federal workers report on a full-time basis. KGB says it's 15% of federal workers report in person on a full-time basis. The actual figure is 6.
Oh, I was close.
What?
I hate that I'm over, though. I hate that I'm over.
I love kids. What?
6%?
I was right. They are lazy.
6% of federal workforce report in person on a full-time basis, while almost a third of all federal workers are permanently remote on a full-time basis.
Boys, we're not living right.
We're not living in the right fashion. I mean, if we would just leave our morals at the door and go apply for a federal job, I mean, my goodness.
Wow.
1/3 of federal workers are remote on a full-time basis. This in a sharp turnaround, per the report, from the pre-pandemic era in which only 3% of federal workers teleworked permanently.
Wait, there was an increase in workforce after COVID?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, but no, this is just this is just the percentage. No. So before COVID,
gotcha.
Only 3% of the workforce teleworked permanently.
Gotcha.
Now that is up to 33%. A third of the federal government works from home all the time, according to this report. Now we have liberals arguing that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, it's going to be a lot harder to cut a lot of this bloat in government than they think. Now, as much as I'm frustrated with Joni Ernst when it comes to Pete Hegseth's nomination, she's doing some good work on this front, as she sponsored a report. She's long crusaded against the rise in remote federal work, and she is revealing today the fruits of her office's labor. She's been doing this report for about a year now. The nation's capital is a ghost town, the report indicates. Government buildings average an occupancy rate of 12%. If federal employees cannot be found at their desk, exactly where are they? In other words, your tax dollars and my tax dollars are going to people to collect a check and do nothing. I promise you, folks, if only 6% are reporting to work full-time permanently, I promise you the amount of laziness, malfeasance, the amount of do-nothing workers, astronomical. We could save billions of dollars just by going through this alone.
Oh, now come on, Brother Murphy. You know they're just, they're
hard at it.
They are, dude. They've got their nose to the grindstone.
They're at home. They're getting ready every day early.
Oh yeah.
They're probably dressing for work because that's gets you in the attitude to get a hard day's work done.
Yes,
but then they find out the McRib is back, and then all workflow goes down again.
Oh well, you gotta eat. You gotta have a lunch hour.
Yeah.
Come on, they're probably not even taking lunches, Ken. I bet they're working through.
No, their mental health would not have. They would be affected if they didn't take lunch. Their mental health would be too much. They would need two different therapists.
I think I agree with Ken. I think they're working Saturdays.
Oh well, they are.
You got to get it done. You got to get it done. My goodness gracious. What a ridiculous.
How many do you think?
6%.
6%.
And all of them have to make six figures, right?
Well, not all of them. I wouldn't expect all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
Way too many of them.
Too many, yeah, that's the word.
So, it's a tale of two senators from Iowa, right? Joni Ernst is doing good work on the reduction of this remote working by the federal government. And then she's been a stick in the mud when it comes to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth because she's, frankly, something of a war hawk along with Lindsey Graham. More on that coming up in a moment. Right now, it's Larry's turn in Clarksville. Hello, Larry.
Well, in my Beth Marshall Blackburn voice, well, Matt.
Well, Dan.
Yeah,
I don't think she was happy with Dan.
I don't think she was. In fact, some of us may not be happy with a lot of them.
That's the truth.
On this Ernst thing, while I agree with what she's doing on this, she can kiss my butt on going against Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is the man for the job. He is the one that needs to go in there and clean this crap out. And then DOGE, brother, can clear up those 96% that are sitting on their fat asses at home. And maybe they can actually start hiring people that will answer government calls when somebody needs to talk to someone in the government. And I'll leave it right there, brother. Thanks for taking my call. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Did Larry say something untoward?
I think he said fat butts, but he didn't use butts.
Oh, well, did you dump that?
I was playing safe than sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay. Okay. I think you can.
I was honestly I was waiting, and I pressed it maybe prematurely, but I was waiting I thought he was going to go a little farther.
You thought he was going to go, okay. Well, that's it. No, look, you protect the brand.
Yeah.
Malinoff.
Brother Jeff was playing a little CYA.
Yeah.
What's that stand for? Don't say it. He'll dump you. Don't say he'll dump you. Mike,
I was playing prevent defense.
I know. I get. Well, Larry, congratulations. You got dumped by KGB. I would not have dumped you, sir, but you got dumped by KGB. Mike is next. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
I'm pretty confident that Pete Hegseth will make it through in the end. Might have a bit of a tough fight ahead of him, but there's been a bit of a rumor that if Pete doesn't make it through, then Ron DeSantis would be the second choice. And I was thinking, if Ron got in, and if Pete couldn't make it, and they put Ron DeSantis in, what if Matt Gaetz ran for governor of Florida? What do you think of that?
I mean, Matt Gaetz needs something to do. I mean, he might, certainly. I could obviously see him casting his hat into public service. What do you like most about Matt Gaetz? Let me ask you that, Mike.
I feel like he's got few things that are not so nice about him, but I feel like he's one of the least corrupt guys up there.
Do you feel like and understand, I've never been that much of a fan of Gaetz. I'm not against him. I'm not a fan like some people are, and so I'm not knocking you for being a fan. I certainly understand why some are attracted to his style. I don't know that his style accomplished much, honestly. I mean, I just, for me, as an observer of politics, I ask myself, okay, what did Matt Gaetz get us? Well, I mean, he got us Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House. That's better than Kevin McCarthy, I suppose. But it was, I guess he got that concession. So, I mean, that's a win, sure. I wish he would have stayed in Congress to, secure that seat so we don't have an open seat right now. Instead, he resigned before, they moved forward with the Attorney General nomination very far. And, of course, he resigned or removed his name from consideration. But back to your question, I do think that Gaetz has something else left in the arsenal. I don't know if he could win a general election in the entire state of Florida.
All right.
And by the way, Mike, it all depends. And I'm not trying to I feel like I'm pouring cold water on your call, and I'm not trying to do that. Let's just say this. There was an investigation into Matt Gaetz as to criminal or illegal activity, and he was not charged in any of that investigation. However, there was a subsequent House of Representatives internal investigation, an ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz. And they had finalized their report to the point that it was about to come out. I have heard some conspiracy theories that Matt Gaetz knew he would never get confirmed as Attorney General, that this was just an avenue by which Trump threw him a bone and offered him an opportunity to resign his post as House of Representatives, gave him a good reason to do that, as a way to get out from under the House of Representatives ethics investigation altogether, so that some of that did not become public. Don't know. I mean, I don't know. I would suggest that someone within the Trump circle probably knew or figured out or saw what was inside of that investigation, and there's probably a reason they didn't go very far in defending the nomination of Matt Gaetz. One, perhaps what was in that report. Once again, I don't know what was in the report. I have no idea. Number two, they got a couple of firm no's on the Matt Gaetz issue. It's 51 after the hour. We'll get more of your calls in here in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up, friends? Defense systems is on my mind. It's a crazy world. It's a dangerous world. I mean, we saw this shooting happening in New York City just the other day, and you hear these stories about shootings, mass shootings, and the like, and you wonder how you can better protect yourself, especially if you're a decision maker at a school, at a church, at a place of business. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you've not called Defense Systems yet, I encourage you to do that right now. They're a life safety and security consultation firm based right in Middle Tennessee. They're as busy as can be, but they're never too busy to talk with you about your needs in your operation, whether it's a school, as I mentioned, a church, and really any place people gather. Active shooter response training is available for you, workplace violence prevention, emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response medical training, all customized to your facility and all designed to help you and your employees understand what to do in the unlikely event that you might encounter some form of violence in your workplace, in your school, or in your church. Call them today or go online at defensesystems.com. That's defensesystems.com. 615-236-6484. 236-6484 for our friends at Defense Systems. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
I just texted a buddy of mine in Southern Oregon about that big tsunami warning after that big earthquake off the northern coast of California. He says he's safe. We'll tell you more about it at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
This just in, Ken Weaver has friends in California.
No, that's Southern Oregon.
Oh, Southern Oregon. Pardon me.
But I do have friends in California.
That's fake news. This just in, Ken Weaver has friends in Southern Oregon.
I do.
Well, I mean, you got to check on them. I mean, I was trying to figure out if I knew anybody out there. I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know. My brother used to live in California, not anymore. Oregon, not so much. You know, those are 3 states I've never been to, Ken Weaver. Never been.
Oregon is very interesting.
Is it?
It is. It's mostly desert.
Desert?
If you've never been to Oregon, once you get past Eugene and Portland, the rest of it is desert.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I had no idea. I got to get out. I got to get out to the as the truckers in the listening on. They call that the shaky side. For good reason, all the earthquakes out there. But California, Oregon, Washington State, not been out there. But for those wondering why we're talking about that, there is a tsunami warning in progress. Ken Weaver's going to give us an update here in just a moment. We'll talk to Mike on the phones right after this. One more hour to go as we continue. We will continue to break down Pete Hegseth. I got off track, and I'll get back to that. And Fusus in Nashville. This technology was used in an effort to catch this criminal in New York City. They haven't caught him yet, that shot down a CEO of a healthcare company. We'll discuss that issue and take your calls. Coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we've got crashes to tell you about. 24 eastbound near Haywood Lane, the right shoulder is blocked. Then 65 southbound at Trinity Lane and 65 northbound right there at Rosa Parks Boulevard. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. A 7.0 magnitude earthquake off the northern coast of California, prompting a tsunami warning.
The initial 7.0 earthquake off the coast of Northern California triggered a tsunami warning from the Oregon border all the way down to the San Francisco Bay Area. People along the coast being told to stay away from the water. There are some reports of some minor damage from the large quake and then a bunch of aftershocks. But now it's a waiting game in areas that have been told to be aware of the danger of a tsunami.
Now that's Alex Stone reporting. As Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy meet with lawmakers today to discuss the newly created Department of Government Efficiency that they will lead. House Speaker Mike Johnson says their leadership is what we need right now.
We're laying the groundwork for the new year and the new Congress, and you're going to see a lot of change around here and in Washington and the way things are run.
Just one day removed from defending Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors before the U.S. Supreme Court. Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti telling WTN's Matt Murphy Show the big win would be that states have the final say.
This is America. That's how we want things to come out.
And the justices not expected to decide for months. A fuel pipe issue in some popular Hondas is to blame for a new recall. Mike Dubusky with that story.
Honda now says it's recalling more than 200,000 SUVs, specifically the 3-row Pilot and the 2-row Passport. The recall notice from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration finds the SUVs could leak gas in the event of a crash because of an improperly connected fuel pipe.
Owners will be notified by early next month if their cars are affected. A heated debate on Capitol Hill today as Congress investigates the Trump rally shooting in July. Answering questions about other controversies involving the Secret Service, Acting Director Ronald Rowe and Republican Texas Congressman Pat Fallon arguing this morning over Rowe's attendance at a 9/11 memorial in New York this past September. The congressman accusing Rowe of putting the president's Secret Service detail out of position so he could sit behind Biden, potentially endangering the life of Vice President Kamala Harris, who was sitting nearby. Here's that moment.
I actually responded to Ground Zero. I was there going through the ashes of the World Trade Center. I was there at Fresh Kills.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you,
Congressman.
were you the special agent in charge?
To show respect
You were not.
for a Secret Service
that's a bunch of
member
horse hockey.
that died on 9/11.
Oh, that you're trying to be.
Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes.
Oh, that I'm not. I'm invoking this.
You are, sir.
Gentlemen,
and you are out of line.
I would like to ask him a question, please.
You are out of line,
order me
Congressman.
Don't try to bully me. Order.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here. You know, holiday traditions are special because they give us a chance to pause and reflect and connect with what really matters. This season, Kraft Body Scan has an idea for a new holiday tradition that's all about health and peace of mind. Right now, they are offering a buy one, gift one special for couples on their full body scans through December 31st. That means for just a little over $2,400, you can get a full body scan for yourself, and you will get an additional one for a loved one completely free. It's kind of a buy one, gift one sale. Think about this. One quick, non-invasive scan. It doesn't take long, and you'll get a complete and clear picture of hidden health issues like heart disease or cancer long before any symptoms appear. This gives you an incredible amount of peace of mind. And if you do have something going on, you can find it before you feel it. Take charge of your health. It's one of the best things that you can do for you and a loved one this holiday and all of the holidays to come. So let's go with the buy one, gift one special from Kraft Body Scan by going to craftbodyscan.com or call 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Hello, friends. Hour number 3 starts right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I just received a package from New Suit. You know, that's who I call Paul. My nickname for Paul is New Suit. Although I'm thinking about I'm thinking about changing my nickname for Paul Mason from New Suit. I called him New Suit because, you know, if you're in management, you're a suit, right?
Got to wear a suit.
Yeah, you got to wear that suit and tie. So you're in management, you're a suit. So Mandis is old suit because he was the old boss, and Paul is new suit. But you know, that was my impetus behind that. But I'm thinking about renaming him the Grinch because I have to work on December 26th.
I'm pleading the fifth on this one.
Are you now? But look what I got though. You see this right here? You know what that is?
That's an envelope.
That's an envelope.
What's it say on it?
It says Matt Murphy.
All right. What's in it? Open it.
I'm gonna
doing some live here. Is it an I voted sticker?
You know what that is?
Oh, it's for the Christmas party tonight.
Comedy Christmas party, guys.
Oh,
I will not be there.
Look at there.
If I may, I will be hosting my own show actually at that time.
What?
Yeah.
In that case, could I have your envelope?
I didn't even buy a ticket.
What? You don't buy a ticket, you get a ticket.
I didn't RSVP. I'm not going.
Oh, well, see, you should have RSVP'd and I would have gotten your tickets from you.
If I may, can I pitch? Or not pitch it? Can I say what my show is on the air? I could use the publicity.
Give me 1 second. Weaver. Are you listening to me? Ken.
Oh, brother
Guys
Jeff.
gotta try.
That is quite a pivot. Is your back hurting? Because you changed directions quick.
I'm good at that.
We were talking about the office Christmas party, and you're wanting to pimp.
Well, no, I said I'm not going because I have my show. It stayed in that direction.
I know. Oh, we heard what you said.
Jeff just, I don't care about drinking. I don't care about parties. Let me tell you about my show.
What, Malinoff? Because I was mean to you in the first hour, the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, as stated by the super texters.
Like 20 people.
It was one.
I know.
You go right ahead. And what are we talking about? Your
We're talking
podcast.
football. It's a stream for 104.5 The Zone. I will be streaming for 30 minutes before Thursday night football, 6:45 to 7:15. I'll answer any questions when it comes to betting and fantasy football.
I dare you to say football. I dare you to say football.
I can't do it. But it's all fantasy football and betting questions. I answer through the chat, and it's a good 30 minutes, a good time. It's a good start. It's a good
Where
place in my career.
where can folks find this thing?
104.5 The Zone streaming. So anything The Zone streams on X, YouTube, Twitch, however we do it here. It's it's not on the radio, but it's on the streaming platforms.
Right, but you can go to their website.
It's just the YouTube. It's just Twitch. It's X. And
Okay,
it's
if you
Facebook.
go to any of those platforms, type in 104.5 The Zone. You'll find it.
And it's 6:45, I'll be live there until 7:15.
Well, there you go. Now, for that, you need to go find Paul, get your tickets, and give them to me.
Again, I told you I didn't RSVP.
Let's make it happen there, Malinoff. I didn't want to pitch your streaming thing either, but look at what happened there.
Consider it. I don't know. Consider it a gift for me taking you golfing.
Hey,
we're even now.
Well, thank you for the golf. That was very kind of you. Weaver, you and I are old enough to remember when you didn't have drink tickets at holiday parties.
That's right.
Remember that? Now that's the norm, isn't it?
Yeah. You get drink tickets.
Yeah, you got to have drink tickets. That's got to, because you can't have anybody putting their buttocks on the copying machine because they've had too many.
No, sir.
Can't have any of that anymore.
No, sir. You might break it too.
Well, that's true. Well, I could tell you some office party stories, but I will not. But yeah, big holiday party happening tonight with Cumulus Nashville. Hope to see you there. 11 minutes after the hour, 2 o'clock, Super Talk 99.7 WT, and we're going to get to the Fusus system coming up in just a moment. Mike's been waiting. Mike wants to talk about this story out of New York. There is a person of interest, we are being told now, in the United Healthcare CEO shooting. Most of you have heard the basics of the story. Police appear to be closing in on the identity, or they have closed in on the identity of the man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan. Authorities today released images of the suspect taken from surveillance cameras at the New York City hostel at West 103rd Street in the Upper West Side, where it appears the suspect shared a room with 2 other men, according to police sources. The New York City Police Department has obtained a warrant to search that hostel. Detectives canvassed other hostels and locations on the Upper West Side and beyond, showing the suspect's picture as they work to identify him. We believe, as of 2:12 this afternoon, Central Time, that they have now done so, that they have a person of interest involved in the case. The gunman, as you have heard by now, shot Thompson at close range yesterday morning outside of a Hilton hotel where he was attending a conference. It was considered a brazen, targeted, and premeditated attack, according to New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. Bullet casings found at the scene had words deny, defend, and depose written on them, according to police sources. This, while the motive remains unknown, this is in apparent connection with his role as the CEO of a major insurance company in the United States of America. It is speculated that this attack is in part due to his role as CEO of United Healthcare and the fact that United Healthcare apparently denies more claims than any other healthcare company in the United States of America, and it's really not even close. I think their denial rate, I believe I saw a statistical chart that it's 32%. And the next closest is like 27%, and after that it goes down to 20%, and then eventually down into the teens for the majority. I think the industry average is 14%, a denial rate on insurance claims. So this has opened up a discussion about insurance companies obviously no rational, no reasonable, no law-abiding citizen would suggest that this is in any way justified whatsoever. There's no justification for the taking of the life of another person unless it's to save someone's life or it's in your own self-defense. That said, it does open up conversation about healthcare problems in the United States of America. Healthcare problems that I thought Obamacare solved all of this. Apparently not. Mike wants to speak to it. Mike, thank you for the call. How are you?
Okay. Let me discuss the security issue first about this situation. First of all, this man, his wife claims that he had been receiving death threats in the weeks before this shooting took place. Now let's look at this situation. This guy here works for the biggest CEO of the biggest insurance company in the world. The company, they claim that they were set to make over $400 billion in 2025. So you mean to tell me that this guy is walking in New York City, one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S., without no kind of security detail, walking out of a hotel at 5 or 6 in the morning by himself, with no security, even though he had been receiving threats from some individual? He should have immediately had him a security detail with him after he received these phone calls, especially going to a place like New York City. Second of all, this individual, they said that this man was standing outside of the hotel all night long, waiting on this guy to walk out of this hotel. He has a mask on his face. You mean to tell me that the people that work in this hotel didn't notice this suspicious man standing outside all night long with a mask on his face and didn't want to call the authorities, say, well, there's a man standing outside of my hotel. We want to find out what this guy's up to. Is he homeless or who is this guy? Nobody notified the authorities or nothing. The guy walks out of the hotel, guy walks up to him and shoots him at point blank range in the back, takes off running, jumps on a bicycle, so they say. And now he's on the loose in New York City. The whole thing makes no sense whatsoever that a man of a company of this caliber would be walking alone by himself this early in the morning. And I'm just going to put it to you this way. I used to live in New York City. I guarantee you, if one of those gang thugs or one of them guys had shot somebody in New York City, he would have been captured by now. It's real funny how they can't seem to capture a guy who just shot a man over a company that's worth over $400 billion. You figure it out, and I thank you for taking my call.
Well, thank you, Mike. A couple of things to unpack with Mike's call. One, I've not heard that he was standing all night outside of the hotel. I did see where – now, Mike, if you have that information, I didn't want to interrupt your flow there, but you're welcome to call us back. What I did see was that he was caught on surveillance video at about 5 o'clock Eastern time Wednesday morning outside of the Frederick Douglass Houses, which is a public housing project on the Upper West Side, which is where the hostel was where he reportedly stayed. So I don't believe it was all night, although, I mean, this doesn't – I don't think it diminishes your point, but it's just a point of order that I've not heard that he was out there all night. I have heard that he was seen on surveillance video at the public housing project at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And then obviously the shooting occurred at around 6:40 Eastern time, I believe it was, when Mr. Thompson, who was in New York City for the United Healthcare Investors Conference, he was apparently in a hotel across the street and he was going to where the conference was at the Hilton. It is reported by ABC News that his schedule was, quote, widely known, according to police sources, and that he was walking across the street to the hotel where the conference was at about 6:40 in the morning when he was gunned down by the assailant who was waiting outside. So that said, it does not diminish the point that I don't – look, people live their lives in their own fashion. And before I go to conspiracy theory, and I'm not saying that's what Mike was doing, but before I lend credence to any sort of conspiracy theory, I default to it is possible that Mr. Thompson, while he did receive some form of death threat, I would expect that that's kind of a part of the job. You're the CEO of a healthcare company that is in the business of collecting premiums, not writing claims, right? I mean, insurance companies are in the business of collecting checks, not writing claims. And I'm sorry to tell you that, but writing claims is a part of doing the business so as to continue to collect the checks. They're in the business to make a profit, and some people don't want to hear that, but it is true. So if you're in that business that sometimes involves life and death, incredibly emotional moments, then I would expect that you receive your fair share of threats. I mean, I can't imagine being that high profile and not believing that you need some level of security. Perhaps you believe that you're under the radar enough. Perhaps it is the case that Thompson was just the type of guy that he didn't feel like that he needed anything. He felt like that he could handle it. He was 50 years of age. And I don't know how long he had been the chief executive officer, but Brian Thompson obviously did not believe that he needed security. Obviously, he did. So, Mike, you're right. I mean, I don't understand it. Let me put it this way. If I was in charge of a multi-billion-dollar company that dealt with emotional issues like life or death, where, you know, sometimes you're denying claims to grandma who's dying, and you got grandson or you got a child or a son or a daughter or whatever that is incredibly emotional, and they're blaming you. They're blaming your company. Then obviously, looking back on it, hindsight becomes 20/20. Now, as far as the individual assailant goes, we don't know what we don't know, and I know that a lack of information leads to speculation. I mean, I've said this for a long, long time. A lack of information leads to speculation, no matter what we're talking about. And that's okay. That's all well and good. We can speculate, but that's all it is. And we can develop wild theories, but that's all they are until we fill the jigsaw puzzle with more puzzle pieces. That's what we're dealing with right now. It's a jigsaw puzzle. What was the nature of the threat? Why did his wife see fit to come out and talk about those threats so quickly after his death? Why did he not have security? These are good questions. How in the world, even if it was just an hour, let's say, how in the world would you allow some guy with a mask? I mean, the reason that they allowed him to walk around with a mask on is because that sadly has become a normal part of American society. There are some people that wear masks all the time. Secondarily, it's cold in New York City this time of year, so a lot of people wear masks over their face to block the wind and whatnot. But that said, one would think that the hotel security would at some point go, hey, there's a guy that's loitering around the alleyway or whatever. Maybe somebody needs to go out and see what's up with that backpack that he's got on. Now, thirdly, it's my understanding that he had stashed one of these bikes over in an alleyway. A phone believed to be linked to the suspect was later recovered in that same alleyway. He then fled on one of these bikes and rode into Central Park. They pinged him through the Fusus system until he got to the park, and then there are no cameras in a lot of the part of the Central Park where he was at, and so they were unable to follow him further. Police have recovered a water bottle and a candy wrapper from the crime scene, which they believe were linked to the gunman. Fingerprint and DNA tests on the items are ongoing, so it's believed that they're going to have his DNA. If not already, they'll have it very, very soon. But that doesn't stop some of the questions coming in as to how an individual would get this close. There are other facets to the case, the investigation that was ongoing with United Healthcare, the belief that United Healthcare was denying claims that they should not have denied, the anger that presents in a lot of people. I mean, the natural place to go is that this was a person that lost a loved one, and they blamed United Healthcare as a result of losing their loved one, especially when you consider the language that was on the bullet casings found at the scene. 23 minutes after the hour, more calls coming up on this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Are you tired of living in pain? Feel like no one's listening to you? You have choices when it comes to your care. At the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, they do things differently. They take the time to listen to you, to understand your unique situation, and to personalize a solution just for you. What would you do if your pain was gone? Imagine the possibilities. I know that I was in a debilitated state for a long time. My lower back was just killing me. My upper back was as well. Now, my lower back is something that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life because I strained my lower back in a way that was kind of permanent back in my 20s and my 30s. But my upper back issues are completely gone thanks to the spinal decompression technology presented first 30 years ago or so by the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. You don't have to settle for a clinic that won't put you first or tries to cookie cutter you. It's time to choose the Dr. Gill Center. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill and the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, 615-882-4838, or callmepainfree.com. That's online, callmepainfree.com.
Tsunami threat and Murfreesboro police seeking witnesses to a fatal crash. These stories and more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Weaver. Discussing this CEO, Brian Thompson, being shot in New York yesterday morning. The assailant still on the loose, although the authorities are now saying that they have a, quote, person of interest involved in the case. Glenda is next. It says that you're on I-24, which indicates to me, Glenda, you probably are in a bad mood, but I don't want to presume. How are you?
Actually, I'm in a pretty good mood. Traffic is moving pretty swiftly, although when I come through a couple of hours ago, there was a holdup there at 87, and it was starting to back up. And I don't know.
That's no good. That means it'll be screwed up for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. What's on your mind, Miss Glenda?
So first off, I mean, it's sad that we are at a time in our country where this is what we result to, is killing someone because we get mad, because we're angry. But I can understand. I'm right now dealing with my own anger issues because I have a brother-in-law who was diagnosed with cancer at the end of September. He was trying to get into the Cancer Centers of America in Houston. He was told that he would have to do that before the end of October because the Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance that he had they would no longer be in their network.
Mm-hmm.
They were dropping them. So that didn't happen because the insurance company, rules, this and that, got to go to this, got to do that. So he reverted back to the cancer center at the University of Oklahoma. He had to start the whole round of tests and everything again to qualify to be in it. And he's not sure that he's there because he was just informed last week that they are no longer in network. So now he has to pay out of pocket by his insurance company. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand.
Yeah, it's maddening. Anyone that has had long-term experience with our health insurance, not our health care, our health insurance system,
Mm-hmm.
it is there has to be a better way. There has to be.
Well, yes, and the thing is, if the insurance company had not had so many rules and hoops that he had to jump through, he would have gotten into the cancer center in Houston. That didn't work out, so he went to his second option, and he's having to start the same test that he had to take in the beginning all over again because he's basically starting all over again. And it's just sad, and it's killing him. Bottom line.
Well, I mean, I hate to hear it. I do. And I know that as you express this story to me, Glenda, there's probably 1,000 people listening right now with similar type stories.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's just gut-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. But you're right. I mean, and it merits and if anything, and obviously no one, Glenda, Matt Murphy, nobody else is justifying shooting somebody in cold blood because of the frustrations that you might have. And we're speculating along those lines. But, the generalized belief is that this person, just based on the evidence that we've seen as we speculate about it, that they perhaps had some issue with this insurance company, and that's what they were lashing out about. Nobody's justifying that. But I understand the emotions that this generates that would lead people to great and extreme anger over the manner in which insurance companies operate. I completely understand that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think it does, and Ms. Glenda, thank you for the telephone call, and you call back anytime. Be safe out there on I-24. I think it merits a further discussion about how we could alter our insurance industry to better reflect the needs of the customers themselves and to better protect the customers against abuses within the system. It is almost 31 after the hour of Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we still have a traffic problem. 65 northbound near Rosa Parks Boulevard. That's a crash reported by police. Also, 65 southbound at Trinity Lane. Full forecast in 5 minutes. A tsunami warning issued by the National Weather Service after the magnitude 7.0 earthquake in Humboldt County in California this afternoon. Drew Tuma is in San Francisco reporting on the threat as the situation continues to unfold.
If you maybe know somebody who is at the beach along our coast, good idea, just give them a call. But the big picture is that we are underneath this tsunami warning. So it stretches all the way from Santa Cruz, including the entire coastline of the Bay Area up through Oregon.
Right now in Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro police seeking witnesses to a fatal 3-car crash yesterday. A 24-year-old female driver was killed when a Kia Rio changed lanes and collided with a Kia Optima, forcing the Rio to veer into oncoming traffic on Northwest Broad Street, then getting hit by a Volkswagen Beetle. Investigators found an open bottle of alcohol and what they think are drugs in one of the cars. They arrested one of the other drivers, 19-year-old Brandon Alexander, whom they say had outstanding warrants for theft and criminal simulation. They say he also had a loaded AR-15 in his car. Deny, defend, oppose. Those words engraved on shell casings left at the scene when United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down outside a New York City hotel early yesterday. ABC's Morgan Norwood on the ongoing manhunt.
Authorities are searching a hostel on the Upper West Side in New York City where they think the suspect had been staying. The police obviously working to uncover a motive at this hour.
More fallout from the fatal police beating of Tyree Nichols in Memphis. The Department of Justice threatening to sue. The investigation hitting home for Memphis native and U.S. Attorney Reagan Taylor Fondren.
We have a long history of civil rights organizing and community engagement. Those who marched for civil rights, sat in at lunch counters, and kneeled at churches sacrificed so that we would live by one rule of law.
5 Black. Former Memphis police officers were fired and charged for the death of Nichols. 3 of them were convicted of violating Nichols' civil rights. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Let me ask you a question about your property. Is your concrete in need of repair? Maybe your sidewalk is shifting, your driveway cracked or sinking, or your porch steps have moved. Shifting concrete can create a dangerous situation and trip hazard in your home. It's also a big eyesore. So maybe you've thought about this because you've had guests over for Thanksgiving or perhaps are anticipating guests for the Christmas holiday. It's Matt Murphy, and whatever is going on with your concrete, called United Structural Systems. Ask them about their polyurethane foam injection. I've seen this in action, folks. I did it at my house in Birmingham, and you've heard about USS for a long time. You've heard me talking about USS. This is a great company that provides superior foundation repair and waterproofing in Middle Tennessee since 1994. That is 30-plus years, and they can now fix your sunken or settling concrete without having to replace the entire concrete. Don't go through the long, expensive process of ripping it out and replacing the concrete. You can fix this with the polyurethane foam injection. USS, 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to USS.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. You know, we spoke earlier today about the anatomy of a smear, the anatomy more specifically of a political smear, and how these things go, and how those doing the smearing don't really care if the smear is true or not. It's a matter of the seriousness of the charges against one and whether or not you can be successful. And I promise you, those doing the smearing of Pete Hegseth will not stop with Pete Hegseth. If they get that pelt, they will go on to the next one. As we discussed this, Will wanted to join in on the conversation. Will, thank you for calling the Matt Murphy Show. How are you, sir?
Hey, Matt. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Is it my understanding that you have worked with Pete in the past?
Yes, sir. I worked with Pete for probably directly about 2 years, off and on for about 4 years, but from just about every possible really position. Like, I mean, we did remote shoots, packages, line producing, all the deal with television with him, and in New York at Fox, and it's just, you know, it's one thing to like political. You expect to see political smears, right? Anybody, especially someone who runs for office or, you know, a presidential cabinet position. But the depths at which they're reaching, especially with Pete, is just, it's absurd on its face. And every single person I've talked to in the last 2 days, who has anything to do with Pete or remembers working with him or still works with him, it's absolutely it's enraging because there's absolutely nothing to it. Pete is the most professional individual who, does he make mistakes? Of course he makes mistakes. We all do. And sure. It's one of those things, Matt, where it's like just when you think you've got you've seen the lowest level that the left will go to stop somebody who they know will disrupt the system. It's like, well, here we are again at an all-new level. Let's all just try and figure out what we're going to do next. You have to ignore it at this point because it's so patently absurd.
Well, and you have to fight, and I would say you have to fight back against it. I mean, because you know better than me, Will, with your experience with Pete. I've had an opportunity to meet him twice, right? And in the two settings that I have met Pete, so this is the way they do, and I use this as an example. I've met Pete Hegseth twice. We've had two conversations. One involved an on-air conversation that then became an off-air conversation. And if they ask me, well, have you ever seen Pete Hegseth drink? I would say, well, yeah, I saw him have a beer. Was it at a work setting? Right. Well, it was after. The way that they're characterizing this makes me understand that they don't have anything else on Pete. And, this is the lowest gutter slime that they can possibly dig up on somebody to suggest through anonymous people that somehow he has an alcohol problem because he was seen drinking at work functions where there's often drinking going on. Stop it. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, there was a report this morning in the Washington Post, I believe, if I remember correctly, and it talked about how one day after a St. Patrick's Day segment where they had they were featuring like different types of alcohol or mixers or whatever, and alcohol was present, right, which there always is, right? And they were like, oh, and he walked to the newsroom and somebody said they were disturbed at how he took a drink of each one. And, it's like if I could sit here and tell everybody how many times the entire Fox and Friends staff, who are all good people, right, went out for happy hour.
Right.
We asked restaurants to open early for us on those days because our days end at 10 a.m. and they begin at 9 p.m. the night before.
Right.
And pizza an early riser. So by the time we get to 10 a.m., 11 a.m. after the show, which was when this purportedly happened, which was such a grave issue apparently, in which never been seen before, the entire staff would go out many, many times to catch drinks after the show, especially after a big show or a holiday like St. Patrick's Day. And it's like, this isn't out of the norm on any level. And anybody who works in television or at all from that context knows that is absolutely the norm. It's the most ridiculous smear. It's just absurd.
If I could change anything, and I don't pretend that there's a way to do this, Will, but if I could change anything about American media, I would require that if they have something like this come before them, they have to put a name to it. I'm so sick of these anonymous sources that people find because I have no idea who these people are. I have no idea what kind of acts they have to grind. If you're not willing to put your name on a quote about somebody like Pete Hegseth or anyone else for that matter, Matt Murphy, Will, doesn't matter, then don't run with the story. Now, I can't tell some of these private businesses what to do, but I can say this, that if it's not true or if they're making stuff up or if there's some sort of shenanigans going on, they ought to get their butts sued for defamation. And I know that that's hard to do for a public figure like Pete Hegseth, but, I mean, it's pretty clear. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's shameful from a journalistic standpoint because if you want the story you're breaking or the scoop you're getting to hold weight, especially in something that doesn't endanger national security or whatever, like the different journalistic rules, we can, it's absurd how people like say, well, sources don't have to be outed. If you're going to make claims like that, you need to put a name on it because they're making it impossible to debunk because you can't debunk something that you don't know who said it or exactly when it happened, and everyone's like, well, yeah, that happens all the time.
Well, what would stop a media organization that, by the way, that none of Donald Trump's nominees have been up to snuff for some of these media outlets? They obviously have their thumb on the scale. They have a narrative and an agenda that they want to advance. But I'll just create a hypothetical. What is to stop the Washington Post from reporting that an anonymous person said that Matt Murphy sexually assaulted someone 5 years ago? I mean, right? So, and I can come out and deny it as long as I want, but once it's out there, there are reporting agencies that will regurgitate it. There are people that will believe it, and sadly, it can potentially impact the manner in which the United States Senate's vote happens on this particular case, and it's ridiculous. It should not be this way. I don't know what to do about it, but it shouldn't be this way. Well, that's a good testimony for Pete, though. You said you worked with him 4 years or so?
Yeah, I worked with him in his time coming up on Fox and Friends weekend, and then I worked with Fox in prime time with Dan Bongino's show, and he was the only regular to come on TV every single week, and he was the most dependable guest. I know you know how showbiz is, and sometimes things happen, but Pete was there every single week. He was the most dependable. So this whole thing, how alcohol got in the way, it's so patently absurd. I will say this about Pete Hegseth, though, and he's a good friend of mine. The only thing I have against him is that he's a Minnesota Vikings fan. That is the only thing. I can't. That's the only thing I can't look past.
Oh, I get it. What, Will? Are you a fan of the Titans? What do you got?
No, I'm a Packers fan.
Oh, wow.
Grew up in Wisconsin, so it's okay. We enjoyed Malik Willis there this year a little bit. So we appreciate that.
Will, just between me and you, I took the Lions tonight. I don't know. Maybe I'll regret it. It's cold weather.
No, I don't think that's a bad pick. I'm not feeling so great about it. So
no, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Listen, don't make this your last call, man. I enjoy the conversation. Thank you for the kind of the spirited testimony in favor of Pete, and we need more of that. We absolutely more of that. Thank you, Will, for the call. Let me get to two more before I have to say goodbye. Chad is in Gallatin with a comment on the trans issue. Hey, Chad.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, Chad. I hope you are.
I'm doing good enough, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's my thing. None of us are the same people that we were 10 years ago. And 10 years from now, we're not going to be those same people again. We're always constantly changing just due to life. What makes grown adults think it's okay to pin something on children like transgender surgeries when they know darn well they are not going to be that same person in 5 years, let alone 10, 15, 20 years. Like, it just blows my mind that these are grown adults that have been through this and aren't able to put that mentality towards something so permanent with children. I've got a tattoo I had covered up. I've got an ex-wife. I mean, I don't eat sugar much anymore. We all change regardless of how that change is. I guess that's where I'm just going to stop.
Well, Chad, I mean, it's well spoken. I mean, obviously, we change in our lives even as adults. And, but as adults, at least we can say, well, look, I made a decision at the age of 25. I was a grown up then. I got a tattoo or I got married or whatever it might be. and I live with the consequences of that. If you're a 12-year-old, can you imagine being Chloe Cole? I've had the honor of interviewing Chloe Cole, who is a known detransitioner and advocate for the rights of children in this regard. And Chloe, you hear her speak, and it's just gut-wrenching. How in the world can you allow this to happen to your children? And if this happens to a 13 or a 14-year-old or even younger, I mean, can you imagine a child growing up recognizing that they should not have been allowed to transition, they should not have been allowed to take permanent life-altering drugs that will sterilize them for the rest of their lives and prevent them from being able to have a family, and you have to look at your mother and father and ask them why. Why did you do this to me? Why did you allow someone to do this to me? And for many of the parents, their only response is, because I believed the doctor that was sitting in front of me. I believed the psychiatrist that was sitting in front of me. So many of them lying. And those people, they are never held to account, at least not so far. They need to be. We need to hold these people to account. Those that bragged about the amount of permanent money that they're bringing in thanks to this gender dysphoria deal. I apologize to those we will not get to. We are out of time for today, and I apologize for not getting to the Fusus system. We'll do that maybe tomorrow, as that story regarding the CEO being shot down in cold blood in New York City will not go away anytime soon. It's 10 until the top of the hour. We'll talk with Brian Wilson next and find out what's happening on the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for U.S. Pest. You know, I want you, when it comes to pest control in your home, to call the best, called U.S. Pest. And I don't want you to suspend your pest control during the winter months. Now, I understand you don't have mosquito problems, and you probably don't have ticks or fleas outside of your house. But you know what you probably do have if you don't have pest control? You've got roaches in the walls. You've got rodents coming in looking for warmth or food, and you need to prevent that with U.S. Pest. They provide 100% money-back guaranteed full-service pest control from spiders and ants, ladybugs, roaches, rodents, and much, much more. Brown recluse spiders, that's right, they're here, and they're probably inside of your home. You don't want that. Termite protection as well, with preventative and corrective services available, 100% money-back guarantee there, too. Plus, their crawl space service. Ask them about this when you call U.S. Pest. I want you to get on a monthly program with U.S. Pest. And don't forget, if you refer a neighbor or a friend or a family member, you receive a $50 credit on your account. 590-1260, that's 590-1260 for U.S. Pest, or online at uspest.com. Couple of things. Have you seen, before we go, have you seen that, UNC lost their head coach, Mac Brown? Have you seen who they've interviewed now?
Oh, God.
Bill Belichick has interviewed. I'm just telling. I'm just reporting the news, y'all. I'm just telling you the news. Anyway, Brian Wilson, he's got the news. He's got all the news that's fit to broadcast for the next 4 hours, and he joins us now to talk about a little bit of that. Hey, Brian.
Hey, we got a lot of stuff going on here today. In the last few minutes, Pete Hegseth has approached the cameras and spoke for about 3 minutes.
Awesome.
And I got to tell you that I just heard your interview with the guy who worked with Pete. And yesterday, as I looked at things, I mean, you know what I want. I think the guy should be the next Secretary of Defense. But,
I do too.
But I was trying to give an analysis yesterday of what his real chances are. The way things go, having covered a lot of these confirmation battles that sometimes go awry, and I thought it was on the bubble yesterday. It could have, he might have gotten it, he might not have gotten it. It was real close. Today, several things have happened that make me believe that he's got a much better chance of being confirmed. And when you hear him speak in just a few moments, it'll be my first story at the top of the hour. You will get a sense of that maybe things are headed in a better direction for Pete.
Oh, that's good news for me, too, because I look at this, you've heard me characterize it this way, Brian, as the anatomy of a political smear. And that's just what it feels like. And hopefully he can overcome it and convince enough United States senators. I mean, you just need 50, right? I mean, right. And so, hopefully that is the case. Well, we look forward to listening to that coming up right after Ken Weaver's newscast. Thank you, Brian.
All right, no problem.
All right, Brian Wilson on the way with The Drive next from 3 until 7 o'clock. That's right after Ken Weaver's newscast, and Ken Weaver's newscast is happening right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'll be in for Brian tomorrow on a Friday edition from 3 until 7 of The Drive. Look forward to that. Until then, friends, have a wonderful evening. Hug your loved ones, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, so long, everybody.